curves, or oncoming traffic. Now that's just one case when you'll have to respond to another driver's mistake. Whenever you do, you be sure to do the right thing and never respond with anger. Any professional driver will tell you that that's for fools. Here's an example that can often get you steamed. You're driving in traffic and suddenly a driver cuts in on you. Just slow down and let the cutter in. They may do it because they don't see you or they're getting out of the way of an oncoming car. In any case, don't try to hold your ground. That could be expensive. Be considerate. You're giving up one car length or a couple of seconds. It's not worth your money or your life to fight. Listen to what an expert has to say about doing the right thing in situations like this.
I see the results of bad driving almost every day out here. I see cars damaged, people hurt, sometimes killed. And I can tell you this, in almost every case, the victim was doing something he knew he shouldn't have been doing. Driving too fast, not paying attention, not thinking far enough ahead, not anticipating problems. And when you couple this with a temper, it's a recipe for disaster. Unfortunately, too many times, I got to clean up the mess.
On a racetrack, there are no intersections. But drive for a day on the roads and streets, and you probably cross 100 of them. The safe driving technique is worth emphasizing here because 1/4 of all traffic deaths occur at intersections. Why does it happen? I mean, you know that if the light up there is red or there's a stop sign, you stop. So why so many accidents at intersections? Because drivers forget the last 3 steps in the safe technique. Say you're approaching an intersection at 35 miles an hour and you know you have the light. So you forget about the intersection and look beyond it, not anticipating problems. You go through it without figuring out a potential evasive action. If the other drivers stop, you're okay. But if they don't, you can pay an awful price.
And it not only happens in the city at relatively low traffic speeds, but it's a lot more dangerous out here on the highway. You come up on some rural intersections and you see a car approaching on a side road. You think you have the right of way, so you keep on going. Sometimes it doesn't happen that way and ends up in some tragic results.
Intersections pose the greatest repetitive danger to drivers. One reason is drivers don't choose a safe path of travel through intersections and they don't prepare to slow down or stop. Now, it doesn't mean they ride the brake. Instead, they should cover the brake.
As you approach an intersection, your focus should be on it, searching the crossroads in both directions. If there are sightline restrictions, like fences or buildings or high vegetation, or even a row of cars obscuring another row behind it, slow down. And once you've decided that you can proceed through the intersection, cover your brake by taking your foot off the accelerator and holding it over the brake pedal without touching it. This will let you react much faster to the brake if you have to. Then, when you're through the intersection, continue to scan the big picture ahead.
No discussion on safe driving would be complete without mentioning again the subject of road rage. It's the desire for some drivers to take out their anger on other drivers. Sometimes because they're provoked, and sometimes, well, because they're just made that way. If you remember anything from this tape, remember this. If you let your anger get the best of you behind the wheel, it's the surest way I know to get yourself hurt or killed. It ranks right up there with drunk driving. You'll have lots of temptation to blow your step. Drivers cutting you off, cutting in the line, tailgating you, driving too slow in front of you, using their horn on you, taking the right of way that you think is yours. You name it, you'll see it. You expect other drivers to drive safely. When they don't, you may feel justified in teaching them a lesson, getting revenge for some real or imagined slight. And in the isolation booth of your car, you feel anonymous. It's a real sign of maturity to resist that temptation, and a sign of ignorance to give in to it.
When drivers see me, suddenly they're on their best behavior. But I still see plenty of examples of dangerous driving. It's like in football, when a player retaliates, it's usually the second person gets caught. On the roadways out here, I'm the one that can catch you, or you can get injured or killed in an accident. Road rage is a terrible thing. It's a sucker's game. Road rage can impair all your driving skills. Generally, with a lot of other cars around, when you need to be at your very best. It leads you to take risks, and it can distract you from what's going on around you, so you miss important clues. When you think about it, it's all for nothing. No driver has ever won anything by being an avenging angel on the road. The thousands of drivers who couldn't control their anger have paid a heavy price. Ask yourself if it's worth it. Many of these crashes could have been avoided if the driver would have just remembered a few simple things. Find another way to deal with anger, to guard against road rage. Be responsible for doing the right thing, regardless of what the other driver's doing. Oh, and leave your ego at home. Save it for when it can work for you. If you think it's not worth the effort, you ought to ask this driver what he thinks.
You'll probably never drive in a pack like this at speeds of 200 miles an hour, but you will routinely drive in conditions like this, where the demands are even more varied, and if you handle them right, you can enjoy the freedom and mobility that only driving can offer. We haven't had time to show you all of the situations you'll meet on the highway, just some of the most frequent ones. But you can handle almost every challenge safely if you make it a habit of following this process. Keep your eyes and your mental scope scanning what's out ahead of you, on the sides, and even to the rear. Anticipate the need to avoid a dangerous situation, whether it's other drivers, pedestrians, obstructions, or some other change in driving conditions. And then figure out exactly what you have to do to avoid it. Changing speed, direction, signaling, swerving, perhaps even braking to a complete stop. And last, execute that action in a controlled way. Simple enough, if you make it a lifelong driving habit. You're about to start on a long and enjoyable driving experience. Make it a safe one.